This week on Hey the Parents, we are talking about raising daughters. Who runs the world, girls? Where's my girls at? Girls just want to have fun, but there's much more to that because girl moms and girl dads, we're looking at you. Because there's a lot more that goes on before the daddy-daughter dance at the wedding. And of course, we talk about when we were younger, mishaps with our own kids, and what the supposed experts say. Because it's the three of us and all of you. I'm Michael Haidt.
I'm Sara D.
And I'm Mike Levine.
Kids don't come with a handbook, so we need your help.
Where do babies come from?
Where do you think they come from?
Is this a kissing book?
Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
I learned it by watching you.
There are no rules in this house. Not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
We sent them to the best boarding schools. We hired the best nannies. We did everything right.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
This is Hey Other Parents, an honest, messy, imperfect show for raising kids.
Hey, welcome back. It's us again.
What's up?
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we're all back together here because we have those episodes where,
together.
like, you know, somebody's sick, got the kids, got the stuff. So the three of us, we are here. Hey, Mike Levine.
Together.
Hey, Sara D. Welcome back.
Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while. Feels like.
It has, and I'll tell you what, it does feel. There's a difference. There's a difference. There's a little air in the. There's a different feeling between a Sunday morning at 5 a.m. and a Friday night at 9 o'clock at night. So.
Yes.
I know.
I love the Friday nights because it feels like you feel like so hopeful in the world. Like there's so much to look forward to. There's so much more to come. You know.
Got the weekend.
Speaking of weekends, so last week, listen, I was at Walmart. So I went to Wally World because sometimes you just got to go to Walmart. Sometimes it just seems like
Wally World.
You know, and the thing about Walmart is that I always have this fear from college that you walk into Walmart, you go to buy one thing and you walk out with like a shopping cart of $200. So I went in and just to pick up a couple small random things, and it started happening. It started happening where I started looking around and I'm like, oh, what was that? And I'm taking like pictures and sending them to my wife, and I end up in this aisle where I was looking at something for the podcast. We're trying to record our other podcast, the other D&D podcast we do. We're trying to do it in person. I was trying to find some like table things to make it so that the tables weren't so loud if we put the microphones on them. Anyway, this is very exciting stuff. So I was in there. I was in the section with like all the tablecloths and all that stuff. And I ended up somehow they're like connected to the bedroom section. And there in front of me were bluey sheets and bluey like bed stuff and blue, you know, like they sell like the twin bed like sets with like the the sheet, the fitted sheet, the you know whatever, and the pillowcase.
Yeah.
The pillow,
so I saw
the comforter.
that. Yeah, and then like now I'm getting like the urge to buy like all the Bluey stuff. So Noah loves Bluey, and to be honest with you, I think we love Bluey more than Noah, and Noah loves Bluey a lot. So I think that show's really for parents setting unrealistic expectations, but it's a great show. So anyway, I'm going back and forth with my wife, and she's like, "Don't buy the blankets. He doesn't need that. He's got this already. Just buy the sheets." And I'm like, "Oh, you sure? I don't know." So anyway, I bought the
You gotta
sheets.
get the whole set.
I wanted to. Trust me, you know me, very tempted to. So I got him home, washed him, all that good stuff. He was at school on Monday, and I put them on his bed before he got home. You should have seen
I love
his
that.
face. I was like, Noah, I have something to show you, something in your room.
Yep.
He's like, what? Did somebody do something? I'm like, somebody did. So he goes inside, and he was so excited. I love the little look of like joy on a little kid's face when they get like, you know, oh, he's so excited.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, and like just the fact that it's like sheets on a bed, like. You know, as you
Yes.
get older, you're like, oh, that's great. Sheets are wonderful. I love socks. But this was like great. He was so excited. It made me so happy. So
Did he expel his excitement through his fingers?
yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny because we had one of those things where like I kind of jumped the gun. My wife was working from home. She was in the basement, and she's like, did you show it to him without me? And I was like, oh no.
I feel like my bad.
So I was like, oh wait. I'm like, no, go grab mommy. Show her what you got. He was so funny. He like grabbed her by the hand. He like raced her into the room. He's like, look. He's like so excited. So it was just as good. But always remember
Okay.
when
memory.
circumstances
I know.
happen,
Yeah.
grab both people have
Yes.
to be there.
You gotta share it in the moments, the little ones, because those are always
Right?
special.
Oh, so much fun. So parents, go out there. Don't buy the whole bed set, but new sheets, $20. It's not, it's not the end of the world.
Why
Make that
not?
little face a little happy, right?
Yes.
Brings a smile to the face.
And it worked out well because he had like a little Bluey and a little Bingo, little stuffed animal from the year before for his birthday and for Hanukkah.
Perfect.
So those little guys were waiting for him. I found his little son. I'm going like almost into a deep dive of Bluey. Let me stop there. Maybe in future episodes we'll do a Bluey episode, but it's not this episode. This episode in particular is about daughters. It's about raising girls. What is it like to raise the girls? And we're going to be discussing it here because in this episode, we have a mixture of us all, right? We have Mike, who grew up with just brothers. Myself, I have an older sister, 4 years older than me, Melissa. Hey, son. And Sara D, who grew up with her brother. But now that we're older, now some of us have daughters and some of us don't. So this is gonna be kind of a cool episode. But before we get into the present, I think it's time to fire up the old electric time machine. Just say she's named every single episode. We're gonna fire up the electric time machine. We're gonna go back in time, and we're going to first kind of get a little sense of what it was like when we were younger. Transition into what it's like as parents, and I have a lot to learn from you guys. And then we'll see what the experts have to say. So let's fire it up. Let's get back in gear and let's go back in time.
Well, it's interesting because I've always wondered what it was like growing up with siblings that are not brothers, that are sisters, and I've always. When I was younger, I grew up with my brothers. So like we always kind of wrestled or kind of annoyed each other. But I guess I would assume it'd be the same growing up with sisters as well. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, if you wanted to say play He-Man with your sister, that was out, but Saturday we talked about our Barbie experiences. So
we talk about Barbies, and we also talk about being the wrestling dummy.
Oh yeah,
and being subjected to like the freaking the Undertaker's move and cracking our backs. And
yeah, seriously.
Somehow I survived.
You did survive, and I guess we're gonna get to this, at some point, but. It is interesting because even like now, I feel like there's this like, there's always this like, I guess maybe not even now, but for a very long time, there's always this boys will be boys nonsense philosophy and things. And kind of like the world seems to be a little bit unequal in terms of like how people raise kids, and boys are expected to be a certain way, girls are expected to be a certain way. And maybe like parents' expectations are also a certain way. But how would you guys experience? Sara, do you remember any of this stuff growing up? Was there any of that? I
think I grew up in a very traditional Latin American Italian household. So like growing up, Carmen, she was very old fashioned. So not only were we like growing our own vegetables and things like that, she was also like training me how to take care of a house. Like I learned how to sew. She would yell at me and be like, "Oh, you're messy. How are you going to take care of your house and your husband when you get older?" So I grew up like kind of like really old fashioned. There were times like in my neighborhood, there was like one girl and a whole bunch of boys. So we would all play kickball and things like that. And my mom, for better or for worse, would call me in after a while and be like, "Girls don't sweat. Go read a book," or something like that. Mm-hmm. I know this is like totally like anti-feminist idealisms, but it's just totally, that's how I was brought up. So no sports for me. Like I was raised not to do any sports. I did ballet and tap because those were like proper, like elegant, as my mom would say, dancing styles. Jazz was not elegant, so we didn't do jazz. And yeah, like that's how I was like kind of raised. Like, and my dad was just like, you'll marry someone good, you'll be fine, Obviously they encouraged me. I know. I mean, obviously they encouraged me to like go to school, get good grades, go to college. But there was like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so it was like definitely like, like the 80s, the 90s. It was like different time period, like time. Mentality. Yeah. It really was a crazy time, right? So like I think they kind of just expected me to just, once I had my little career for a little bit, that I would probably stay home with the babies and take care of them and stuff like that. So like I think I grew up like really truly old-fashioned, and I think that has shaped me as a parent now when it comes to my daughter,
It's pretty wild. Like I remember like when with my sister growing up, there was definitely like, there were a lot of fights with like about clothing and makeup. I kind of remember that. And granted, like I'm 4 years younger, and what I perceived maybe was a little, I'm like, I don't know. Like when you're the younger sibling. I mean, that's what I think is another part of this episode too. I guess we have to constantly remind ourselves is there's like this whole thing with girls and boys, but there's also the younger older dichotomy too, which is probably something that it's hard to kind of differentiate sometimes maybe between what is the sexes and what is the age, who came first kind of thing. But you guys are very close in age, so there's obviously that's all out the window. That's all for you and your brother. That was straight up comparison because you guys are the same age, right?
Yep, we're the same age.
All right, so then boom, we got that variable.
Yeah,
out.
no, he was like allowed to do like whatever. He was like able to roam the streets. Like I always had to be home, you know.
And the worst part is he was allowed to sweat.
He was allowed to sweat. He could get dirty.
But like I remember when my sister like she would wear whatever clothes. My parents would yell at her and stuff. And I was just texting my sister before because I was like, we're going to record in like 20 minutes. What do you got about this? And she was like saying that, she would get really annoyed because the clothing that, what am I eating? The clothes that people would wear, were like it is now too, is that the clothes that were available that you pick out in the store was what people were wearing. Yeah. And I think my parents would often get kind of annoyed with like the clothing style and then not allow my sister to go out like that, to which there was the clothes you left the house with. And then the clothes you changed into shortly thereafter.
I don't know. When I was younger, I guess I wasn't like the typical, boy growing up.
No, because you got the attendance award.
And I also I was kind of like Sarah, where I was helping out my mom a lot, like doing dishes, cleaning, and just kind of. I did like my typical, boy stuff, but I also, I don't know, I tried to help out more, because, my mom was a single parent for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I guess I had, felt bad, like that the dishes were piled high or that the house was destroyed. So, when she would come home from work, I would try to have all the dishes cleaned or something to kind of help her out. Whereas, and I think about my son currently, he doesn't try to with the dishes, but I don't know. I guess it's not typical for a boy to, or a young child to kind of do that,
Well, maybe, you are amazing. We know this to be true.
I know. Aw, little baby Mike Levine doing the dishes for his mom. I love it.
It's probably how maybe how you're raised, possibly too. You never know, right? Like my mom was like really big into holding the door, teaching, little things like that, and manners and that sort of thing. And
yes,
I don't know if that's like something that's like the boys must learn this, the girls must learn this.
My grandmother was very when I was younger, my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt were around a lot. So my grandmother mostly. And she would always tell us, when you walk with the girl always walks on the inside, and you always walk on the outside.
Oh yeah, that's it. It's such old fashioned. I love it. Yep.
Oh, you mean like you put yourself more in danger, like the
correct.
Like if a car comes, they're gonna get hit first. Jean used to do that too. Oh, Jean still does that.
I do that too. It's funny. I do it with my kids. Well, I guess that's probably the right thing to do. But I do that also. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know. That's always little things have stuck like that with me that my grandmother had taught me when I was younger. It's kind of cool, and it you see it now as I guess as an adult. That you have more and what you try to pass down to your children more like empathy and kind of loving nature for others and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, cool. I was raised like, so we had chores in the house. Like my brother had chores just because he was allowed to roam the streets and be sweaty. He had chores, but he did like the hard labor stuff. Like he took out the garbage and he like did like the vacuuming. Because my mom was like, girls don't do those things. And like to this day, when I have to take, like Jean's always like, I have to take out the garbage again. Everyone just piles it up. I'm like, women don't take out the garbage. Like, and, or like when I have to do it, I'm like, there's like an injustice that's deep rooted inside of me where I'm like, oh, I'm doing the garbage. This is terrible. So there are some habits that are very hard to break, but my mom had ingrained that for me. Like I would do the dusting when I was younger. I did all the easy stuff, Oh,
that's so funny. Jean, it's not ladylike.
Right. It's not ladylike to make your wife take out the trash.
My wife refuses to take out the trash after it's dark outside. Like she's going to get like monsters
right, because there could be raccoons or something out there. You want your beautiful wife to be out there throwing out the garbage. No.
Honey, you don't have to go outside with the garbage.
See? Okay. Chivalry.
Did you guys ever get a gift from your parents that was
I'm sorry.
Did you ever get a gift from your parents that was like for the opposite sex? So like, did you ever get like a present.
Like Mommy's
that
Sweet
was-
Little Princess shirt.
Yeah.
I think maybe as far as I went was probably maybe the Cabbage Patch stuff. I don't know. I mean, like stuffed animals is a weird subject because I feel like at a certain age, like it's frowned upon for like boys to get stuffed animals after a while. But like, I think like maybe I'm not sure where you're going with this, but I think the most feminine stuff I got was probably the maybe the pound puppies and the Cabbage Patch and then the makeup. No, I'm kidding. No, not the last part.
Well, no, the reason I ask is just because I remember when I was younger, my mom had given me, like, she came home, she was all excited. She got like all these books and things, and on the books, it had like all these dolphins and very like, it's got dolphins and things and whatever. And I'm like, it's
giving girly, mom.
you know, and she
Come
just
on, Mike,
felt,
you like Rainbow Bright.
yeah, she just felt so. Yeah, it had rainbows,
Lisa Frank,
unicorns, it
then.
had
She probably was
everything
like-
that just.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, it probably was. I don't even remember.
I think like the most like we always like because Anthony and I were the same age, so we would just play with each other's toys. Like, and again, my dolls would be ripped off and his would be fine. And we had a dollhouse that like you know like a big kid sized dollhouse. You know, I always wanted him to be the husband. He never played the husband properly.
Yeah.
But no, I can think of like one of my favorite Christmas presents was like a mop and a broom and a baby.
This episode of Hey the Parents is called Equality for the Sexes.
Wow!
My parents were sending me. Oh, and had a little handkerchief too, because you know, like if you're cleaning, you gotta make sure your hair's back.
Oh my God, is that Matilda?
Guys, make
Is
sure
that
you
It was
look
what
at
like
the
it's
Orphan
Instagram this
Annie.
week,
That's what it
because
was.
The AI is going to be out of control.
Yes,
That's what it was
Orphan
giving,
Annie.
but,
That's it. Yeah.
Listen, I was getting
my
prepared for
God.
the future.
I swear, it's like your parents were probably like, "Listen, if you do a good job,
Growing
we
up,
promise
Carmen.
you that we'll someday buy you an easy bake oven so you could cook for your man."
I got an easy bake oven too.
There it goes.
Oh man, see, we're trying to break those generational traumas.
I'm afraid
we're
if
trying to
anyone's
do
listening to this
better.
episode out of context, I feel like everything we're saying is like, "Oh my God."
We are trying to do better. That's what I'm saying. So if we talk about the present, things are different.
What do I know? I do all the cooking. But no, it's crazy because you see this. And then what about growing up out of curiosity? Did your parents, I know you're now going to be the spokesperson for all the females in the entire world, but did you grow up with any of that disparity between like clothing and what was accepted versus like what was for sale, or were there makeup things, or were there like rules with that stuff?
I didn't wear makeup because being adopted, my mom was fairer skinned than I. So like her makeup would look different on
for
me.
Halloween?
Right, like it was like right, it was very safe for Halloween, but like, you know, her color palette was different than mine. So I never really got into makeup. Also, I didn't really like the feel of it like on my face, so I just kind of stayed away. And then when it came to clothes, you know, I don't know, maybe stereotypical, but being like Latina, like we were kind of like, yay, like whatever looks good, you know, like there's really no like restriction.
Yeah, but I mean, like there was so there weren't any
Yeah.
moments where like you're not going out like that.
No. If anything, my mom was like, "You sure you don't want this top?" I'm like, "No, I don't know if I want that top."
Your
She's
mom's like, "Here, let me get some scissors. I want to cut the bottom of the shirt for you."
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, so I went through like a preppy phase. My mom was like, she likes these shirts that cover from head to toe. I'm like, yep, that's how I like
It's called a blanket. Exactly.
That's how I like it, Mom. So I don't know. That's just my experience, not for all the Latinas out there. You know, just saying.
This is amazing. And then what about what about like did you ever get the feeling that like you were treated like you were fragile in any way, or like like about going out by yourself, or like you had to go with a friend, or like at night?
I mean, again, not allowed to roam the streets, not allowed to sweat, not allowed to play with boys for too long because, you know, God knows what happens.
First you're sweating, then you're playing. It's disaster.
Things could happen. Who knows? I was definitely treated way different than boys.
You know, it's funny because you remember, like, you know, when you're younger and you remember your parents telling stories, and then you kind of like you hear those stories again, or you think about them, it's like you're from a different perspective. But I remember when my sister was in high school, they would have these meetings with guidance counselors every so often. Like they would try to like talk to them about like, you know, the plans for college or after high school, whatever else. And I remember my parents being just really annoyed with how, for whatever reason, it seemed like the guidance counselors were downplaying math and science for my sister, and they felt at the time that they really weren't encouraging women to pursue science and math as important classes for college and that sort of thing. So I don't know if that was like a circumstance that was just more for what would we experience, what she experienced, but there was definitely some disparity of like very small things that, I mean, that's not a small thing, but that is a thing where things were just different. I mean, I guess just trying to get your kid to get through high school and all that sort of stuff is not always you're there. We're not there yet. I'm like, what am I even saying? My kid's in middle school right now. But it's definitely got to be pretty wild.
It's going to happen, buddy, very quickly. Let me tell you.
I know, seriously, right? What about the idea about like slumber parties or like going out to friends' houses, or did your parents was that equal? Were your parents like against you guys like sleeping over, going places, doing things at night?
So my brother slept out wherever he wanted for the most part, and then for me, there's like a really funny like TikTok or like Instagram thing where it's like, oh, my mom said I can't sleep over because you're a father and a brother, and then it's like, so basically like that was me. Like I wasn't allowed to sleep over. I begged one friend, her mom, she was also adopted, so they knew each other for like a long time through like the adoption support group like for Latin American children, and so she allowed me to sleep over there, and then I was allowed to sleep over my cousin's house, but I didn't really have many sleepovers growing up like at all, just because it just wasn't something I did.
Did you ever get like angry at your brother or your parents
all the time?
Because like.
Yeah.
This is totally unfair. Yep. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, no, of course. I would be like, and then like, I guess like to a certain extent, you just kind of like, this is my fate, and you just kind of accept it. Like, I wasn't like a totally rebel. I was quiet rebellious. So I wasn't like one to
plotting and thinking.
Yes, I wasn't like a shout. Right, exactly. I wasn't like a shouting, yelling kind of kid. I was more like a quiet, sit back, observe, and then like learn from Anthony's mistakes, and then like kind of work around that. But. Sleepovers were
2247.
Yes,
the brother has once again tried to get out of the house undetected.
Step number 9 squeaks when you step on it.
Yes.
Skip it. So I was definitely that one. So I sleep. It kind of stinked because I really wanted to have sleepovers and stuff like that, and everyone was having fun. I felt like I missed out on stuff, and then maybe I didn't because sometimes sleepovers, they can be a little troublesome at times. So I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I'm always on the fence about it. Sometimes my experience. Yep. And honestly, I do remember sleeping over at my cousin's house. It was all 3 girls. And I remember sleeping in my cousin Christina's bed and just being like, I want to go home. Like things smelled weird. The bed felt weird. Like her sleeping next to me felt weird. And I was just like, I want to be in my own bed, home with my own things. So, I wasn't meant for sleepovers, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and even too, as a middle child too, I understand like kind of just standing back and like witnessing everything and trying to like plot what to do.
Sometimes you didn't have to plot because they just forgot you somewhere, and then it was okay.
Yes. The middle child. Yeah, absolutely. I was always, that middle child syndrome, and I think about it right now with my middle daughter. I plot to make sure she doesn't feel
she is
forgotten.
Seen. Yes, you're doing good.
Do you feel at times, because I also have 3 kids, do you feel like at times you maybe like you swing the pendulum too far in the other direction? Like you're so far trying to like make sure that the middle child feels like like I'm gonna correct history, and then and you're like, oh man, am I developing like older child syndrome? What's happening right now?
Yeah, like I feel sometimes with my kids now that am I doing enough? Like I'm always questioning like did I do enough for the middle? Did I do enough for the younger one? Did I do enough for the older one? Should I pull back a little bit on the older one and focus more on the middle one? And like it's tough. And I guess that when your kids look at you, and I think back to when I was a younger, like your whole perception as a child of like, and how you interpret things, so like I constantly ask the kids like, oh, how do you think this went? Or or how was today for you, or how was the event for you? Because I just want to get like an understanding of how they perceived it, of whatever we did for them. And hopefully, they're not perceiving it in a jealous manner where they say, oh, Lucas, you gave him more apples, or
that's what they fight over.
You gave him more chocolates,
the
or
kid that
something.
got more of those apples.
Yeah, that's why I switched it to chocolates. And it sucks because I think they don't realize, or they don't, and they wouldn't. They're children, they don't see how hard we try to make everything fair for them and to make everything equal for them. And, you could be doing the slightest thing and they may be perceiving it as you're doing more for the other, and it's
basically
a tough battle,
in my brain as you're telling me this. I'm like picturing like what it really feels like. It honestly feels like a 4D game of tug of war at all times.
Yes, it sure is.
Yeah,
It's not even about like sometimes about really truly what's fair or not. It's this perception of like losing, losing their using their like their like their block, like their section of their like gang owned area, and it's like so ridiculous because at times like I could hear them fight, and I'm like, this isn't even about what you're fighting over anymore. This is just about, who's been done wrong or like who thinks that they're going to have to lose out on something. And in actuality that whatever, we're going to get into a sibling episode and a different episode. So, all right, cool. So when it comes down to the younger stuff, I think we kind of got most of it out. But we are kind of, what's that? The electric time machine just pulled up. We're back now. So,
like Wayne's World.
Like, that's amazing. I know. In this case, there's no Queen playing in the background. But so we actually, we're gonna have a bit of a discussion now about what it's like now as parents. It's not something that we all here had the same experiences, obviously, because of so many reasons, but mostly because I don't have any girls. So I think that I have a lot to learn from you guys, and I'm really curious about it. Let's just let's get it out. Let's figure out what it's like to have our past experiences and how those impact how we're feeling. Our outlook on our kids towards our friends and that sort of thing. Because I have all boys, but my older guy, a lot of his friends are girls. I think it's kind of cool. And they, it's a little bit different than when we were growing up. Boys and girls are kind of more closer and friends. It's not as much as like a thing in the past where it was like all the girls go to one side of the gym, all the boys go to the side of the gym. From your guys' experience, your guys', that's some great English. You guys, what's it like now as parents of girls?
I mean, I remember when I found out that my second child was going to be a girl. I started sweating. I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I have my experience with girls is non-existent other than.
No, I get it. Because like, you know what? You're like, there's different parts, guys. There's different parts.
That's hysterical.
I know. There's just so much differences, and I was like, oh my god, what do I do? There's different parts. What do I gotta? There's.
Dude, I legit remember when you called me, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, that's so cute.
It sounds so insanely dumb to say out loud, but really, I mean, as anything else is a new experience, right? Like, there's so much more to that. And, I remember at one point you were freaking can we just edit it? Freaking the F out? Like, can I say that? I don't know. Like just this idea of like, like, I'm going to be a dad of a girl. Like, I have to protect her. I have to no, but I can't just protect her. I got to teach her right from, no, she's got to be tough. She's got to be caring. She's got to be tough. I'm going to be dancing with her at her wedding. And then you are. Yeah. I love this guy. He's like a teddy bear.
And I think that's what happens as a father. As a father, all those thoughts are just going through your head, and I don't know. It's just you want everything to go right for all your children, and I think when you have a girl, you're a little bit more sensitive to it. That's all. You're
like, what am I gonna do? I'm like, go buy some diapers first. That's a good start.
Yeah.
First diapers.
First the diaper. First win the week, and then we go from there.
Taylor's like, listen, you have plenty of time to think about all of that. Let's just figure out how to do a
if you're like,
diaper
Taylor,
first.
do you know
I'm
anything
like,
about
okay.
girls?
Taylor's like, I don't know. I might know some things.
She's like giving birth. I'm like, you don't even know what I'm going through right now.
Oh man,
You know?
that sounds like another episode.
Oh my God. I don't
How
know.
to be supportive to your wife in labor.
When I found out that, I was having a girl, I started asking like other women, hey, what's something that you remember your father taught you as a woman, like growing up? Well, I asked a lot of my colleagues because, in my profession,
That's a good place to ask,
work
right?
with a lot of women. So I kind of got a lot of information and a lot of things that their fathers told them were, were more about a boys,
Meaning like how girls should be around, like a perception of how girls should be around boys, or like what to look out for, or meaning like all the advice was for the boys.
No, all the advice was for the
interesting.
girls on to be wary of boys,
Evils of boys,
and how they
because
they could be.
it really goes to show that like it's almost like
Yeah,
saying that girls aren't capable of realizing these things themselves. That like it's almost like that's the viewpoint that like these little simple minded children aren't capable of their own thoughts. So we're gonna need a man to figure this out.
I think it's I think it's just more that fathers kind of know the thoughts of older men, or assume thoughts
Like
of
answering the
older
door with a
men.
shotgun in your hand, like that
And,
whole like right, yeah.
that. Yeah. And you kind of just want to, I don't know, I guess you kind of just want to protect your daughter. That's that whole protection thing of having a daughter and stuff. And, I guess they passed down that kind of information. It surprisingly, it was overwhelming amongst all the women that I asked, that it had to pertain to boys. It wasn't like anything like be a strong woman and do your own thing, like it was just like watch out for like boy type stuff,
Yes, it sure. I think it's just a different time. It speaks to a different time, different age,
Doesn't
and like
translate,
that's
right?
why, right? And then that's why, like for me, taking my childhood and listen, it was what it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. It was, I guess, not appropriate, but it was in step with the times. But now raising my child, my daughter, like Gene. First off, Gene was brought up with a lot of women in his life. I think he was one of only 3 boys in the family. There's a bunch of girls, bunch of women. So he was very comfortable. When Sophia was like a girl, he was like, okay. He went out because we kept the gender secret. So when we found out, the doctor was like, oh, it's a girl. So Gene was like, oh, it's a girl. He's like, okay, cool. So he went out like the next day, bought all these bows, dresses, like asked me what color onesies we had. Cause like we got very like gender neutral onesies. So he was like getting like outfits to match, like to make like sets and stuff like that. So he was an expert when it came to like being a dad, a girl dad. It's like he knew how to do the diaper. He was not worried. Me, I was like, how do I change a diaper? I was like the one that was clueless. Other than just like wanting to dress her up, but like other than that, I was like, I was very nervous with her, like because I wasn't raised around a lot of babies. I was actually the baby of my family. Like my cousins right now are probably like in their 60s, almost 70s. Like we were the babies in the family. And my parents were older when they adopted us. So that's probably why we had like a lot of old fashioned thinking. But no, I definitely think for me personally, as knowing that I was raised in such an old fashioned way, that was a little behind the time of some of my peers. Cause like Mike, your sister is probably just maybe like 6 years older than me or whatever, which is like, it's not huge, but it's not like, like not like a huge gap, but it's a gap there.
It's within that sort of like, yeah.
But my parents I think are older than your parents. So they were raised with different ideals. And so I was raised with that. And like you were saying, like your parents were concerned about science and math. My parents were just like, you got an F in math, no big deal. Like you'll be fine, So I think with knowing that was a little out of touch with my peers, I think with Sophia, I made sure, and with Sonisha, I wanted them to be strong, independent, confident young ladies, and they didn't have limits on activities like playing kickball, arm wrestling. Sophia loved to arm wrestle the boys on her, like in the playground, or being the fastest kid or whatever. Like whatever she wanted to do or Sonisha wanted to do, I made sure they did those things. So I just wanted them to be just independent. And like the biggest thing I think wasn't necessarily like saying like, oh, boys are bad for you or something like that. It was just like, you don't need someone to make you happy, whether it's a boy or a girl or, whoever else you choose to love. It's just really more like, are you happy with yourself? Are you confident with yourself? And then that person's supposed to add to it, So I feel like that was like my big thing, like not get ready for marriage and get ready to take care of a house and children. It was like just someone's supposed to add to your life, and like, but because you have all these things that you're bringing to the table too.
Look at that look.
I kind of started doing these like girl talks with Ellie. I can't do them yet with Hayden, but and I say, Ellie, like, I know I'm not a girl, babe, but maybe I could be an honorary girl and we could have girl talks because she talks to.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, because she kind of talks to Taylor a lot, and she'll be like, "Don't tell Daddy," because, and I get it. There's that something that I won't understand, I guess, because I am not a female myself, So but I do want to have those conversations with her, and I do want her to be open with me. So I tried to create these girl talks with her, and we lay in bed and we talk about things like, oh, Daddy, what was your like most embarrassing moment in school? She'll ask me, or what was a funny moment that you had, or and I tell her these things, and just to kind of. I want her to remember her dad that, sort of like dad empowered me to be who I am rather than telling me to watch out for boys. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to change that around, and I figured these talks, maybe they may help. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm doing this right. I have no script.
I think that sounds good. Yeah. I think any kind of communication, boy or girl, like especially I think when you're dealing with the opposite sex, like having a safe spot, like a safe place for the kids to feel like they can talk to their other parent, is good. Yeah. I think you're doing a good. It sounds like so sweet. That's such a great job you're doing.
Awesome.
I love it.
Thanks,
that's amazing. Good for you. I love that. Girl talks with the dads.
Yeah, when you bust out these awesome things, dude, I swear, like, I'm like, where'd you come up with this stuff?
I know. You're so good. That's amazing. I think raising girls is hard because I know, like, with my oldest, with Sunisha, we were definitely tougher on her with some things, like in terms of going out. And, like, I think, that was a carryover from our upbringing. Jean and I both probably brought up very more traditional. And then with Sophia, I know for sure, and Jean for sure too, is trying to be a little more, I guess, modern. I sound so old saying that, but like more aware, we're more educated, we're a little more removed from some of the generational stuff. So we're trying to make sure like she knows that the world is her oyster. She is able to make choices, to trust in herself, to trust in her gut instinct when something is not, just dealing with like recently Sophia wanted to have a sleepover with someone, and then she was getting like, I don't know, not like a bad feeling, but just like, I don't know. I don't think I just have a good time sleeping over this friend's house. So she was like, I don't want to do that, Mom. Can we figure out a way how to tell the parent that I don't want to sleep over? And I was like, of course we could figure that out. Like I wanted her to trust her gut instinct and not just do things because she has to be nice or polite or whatever. And I think that's like good for them to feel that, to trust themselves, especially for women, young ladies, because as they become young ladies into the world, they start dating, they might get like that feeling in their stomach, and you want them to like trust that gut feeling versus like ignoring it because they have to be polite or they have to be ladylike or etc. Like obviously you don't want them to be rude because any child you want to be rude and a rude human, but like just overall, just trust that gut instinct that's kind of speaking to them. And I think for me, like with Sophia and Sonisha, I always try to like talk to them and like, like Michael Height and I, we always kind of like do the, from The Help, like you was kind.
Yes, we do.
Right. You was smart. But I always think about that because I like to tell them like what they are, and then like I obviously add the pretty, because who doesn't want to hear they're pretty or good looking or beautiful, or have a nice smile, beautiful eyes or beautiful hair. So, but I always like try to think about how I word compliments, especially for Sophia, where it's like I want her to know that she is these qualities first before her looks, So that's like that's always like in my head, you know.
Kind of like the Spider-Man thing with like in Spider-Man Homecoming where where like Peter said something about her being pretty and she was like, therefore I have value because I'm pretty. It was something along the line. I'm like, this is such an amazing. Yes. Oh, she's so awesome with that. But like, there is something to be said about that, right? Like, kind of like really, really speaking to what you want them to take away from where it's coming from. I don't know, as a parent, if that means so much to me too. Like the idea of like report cards, and because that whole thing's happening right now with like, I always tell my kids, we talked about this, about the effort means more than the numbers. And then my kid was like, he was messing with me. He's like, oh, these grades don't matter. I'm like, no, the grades are really good. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm really proud of you, but I want to be more proud of you because of what you did before that. But, just trying to like target what you are saying, because like, when one thing doesn't pan out, it doesn't mean that they have nothing left, Yeah.
And I always,
exactly.
Or I find like struggle, and I shouldn't say hard. I struggle with like my tone of voice and how I approach my daughter as I approach my son, and it's not that I think she can't handle it. Like, it's just that she is more sensitive than my son. Like, and she will start crying, and being kind of hyperventilating a little bit, just because she's very sensitive. So like, I'm like, all right, when I got to go in tough, I gotta kind of chime it down a little bit, but still get my point across. You know what I mean?
Because I am a female and I'm talking to my girls who, I feel like there's kind of like what Taylor probably experienced with your girls, is that she's able to be honest in a certain way because we're girls and we kind of get it. Obviously there are times where I haven't necessarily been honest with Sophia about something. So like Sophia had a friend that I wasn't like really like fond of, and I was kind of leery and kind of watching her and this friend, and because I was coming from the point of view with my oldest, thinking that the more I said no, like I didn't like this girl, the more I was pushing her to her. So with Sophia, I was seeing this girl that I really wasn't like, I don't know how I felt about this. And the girl burnt Sophia eventually at some point. Something happened. And Sophia was like, if you didn't think, she said to me, she's like, Mom, if you didn't think you liked her, why didn't you tell me? She's like, I would have made different decisions then. And I was like, oh my gosh, she respects my opinion. I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, and meanwhile, this is like in 7th grade that's happened or whatever, and I was like watching this friendship and I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. My past experience was, not to keep saying no because she kept saying yes. So I think with every child, you have to kind of know the child. And there's no handbook because what worked for one kid didn't work for the other kid. So, so Sophia wants honesty. She wants me to say, I don't know if this friend's a good friend for you, So,
I'm not saying like she's like a certain way or whatever else, but I feel like even with some kids, like they would say they want the honesty, but they may not really want the honesty. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to really know in the moment. Like after the fact, it's easy, right? But
exactly. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know if in the moment if I would have said to Sophia, I don't know if I like this friend, if she would have listened to me or not, Yeah,
so, like given the circumstances, maybe you going back, you still would have done the same thing,
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm gonna take it for what she said. Next time I see something like that, I'm gonna say it, and we'll deal with it as it is. But I think man, raising a girl is you're teetering somewhere between wanting to make sure you're raising a strong, independent woman and a good person, and like all these things. So and like celebrating their uniqueness as women, because women, we are beautiful and we are strong. So you want to make sure they embrace that as well.
Girl.
You too, Mike Levine. I see you. With your nail polish on. I love it.
Yeah, to speak to that,
one thing
I have definitely painted my nails quite a few times and done makeup and all that great stuff.
I love it.
We each have our goth phase, baby. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we sure do.
One thing that I wanted to bring up real fast, and I think this is important because we are going to be running low on time soon, is that regardless of raising girls or boys, I think that many studies have shown that it's probably a good thing to teach them at a relatively young age about their body parts and about what to call their body parts.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, because I think that, in this world, with just as craziness as the world is sometimes, preparing your children to be by themselves and to report back to you if they're ever uncomfortable, using weird code names and things is not good. So I think the three of us might agree that it's good to use the appropriate language and to call body parts what they are, and to start using those terms, not to be giggly with them, but like to try to teach them what those parts are, right? I mean, do you guys feel that way too?
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what we've done in our house. Like our kids know their body parts and what they're called, and we've definitely practiced that. And with my daughter, she's 7 years old, and she's asking about just recently been asking about certain things that women have and go through, like a period, and I'm like, you're 7 years old and you're asking this, like, where's this coming up from? I just don't know.
But that's the most honest, tender age. We're just so curious and like, you have to be a woman to like know, or like someone who like identifies as a woman to be like, hey, I kind of want those things. Like, what's going on there? It's exciting for some of us, and some of us I know it can be very confusing. And we have to be sensitive to that as well. But I think anytime a child is questioning what their body parts are, what's kind of going on, we have to be honest and empower them with proper words. So when Sophia was younger, we really didn't teach her her proper body parts. To be quite honest with you, she called her nether regions a cha-cha. So we always refer as cha-cha. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And that's, we still talk about that, but like at the same time, we actually do use the real words, like, like vagina and things like that. But like when we talk about periods, we talk about menstrual cycles, we talk about like, pregnancy and things like that. We've talked about, when it's time I've always taught Sophia when she was little that just because a boy pulls your hair or does something to you doesn't mean he likes you. If you don't like that, then you tell him no. So, and I teach my son the same thing. Like if a girl says no, that means no. So, and that could be anything when they're little. Like, like sometimes like Julian wants to hug up on someone and I'm like, you can't do that. If they said no, it's no. So I think like with Sophia, like I always taught like, like just to know your boundaries. If you don't like something, have someone's touching you, whether it's a tickle, a high five, an arm wrestle, if we're not comfortable with it, we tell them that it's no, it's your body. You choose how you want to use it. So I think that's like really important for them to know from the very beginning when they're little to when they're bigger that your body is your body, and only those who you want them to touch in any way is allowed, and and obviously like to report things, like you said, to say like if someone touches you in your bathing suit areas that is not supposed to be doing that, besides your doctor and your mom, then you should also let us know.
Yeah, because another thing too is like you put your kids in summer camp, and or you're not always around your kids. So if something were to happen, you want them to relay that information. So why don't we turn to what the experts say?
All right. So some of the articles said, like, in order for like dads to like be close with their daughters is to be a good listener. And Mike Levine with those girl talks, I think you're being a good listener.
I'm an expert.
Look at you. Yeah. And they say discuss, don't dictate rules. So I guess it goes with like that tone that you've been talking about, is like making sure that you're not like being this tyrant and you're kind of actually having like a back and forth. And dads often end up taking a back seat, but girls need positive feedback from both parents, especially during the teen years. Let your daughter know you're proud of her And not just by telling her she's beautiful, though that's important too. Also let her take the lead when it comes to quality time. So that's like letting your daughter know that how important she is to you, and she'll be a huge source of self-worth for her at a time when her identity may feel fragile.
It sounds like the whole thing of like, do as I say, not as I do, doesn't work. You kind of almost have to like show it and not just say it, which seems like that kind of goes a long way.
I think at the end of the day, you gentlemen, even as a guy dad, like a boy dad who has a child that has girlfriends, you're modeling how you treat young ladies, like girls and into this world, and humans. So you guys have the big role.
I know you say I'm a sensitive guy and everything, but you have to see Mike and his pictures and his picture frames of things. Like, he's got all the dates. He remembers everything, and he is, you think I'm sensitive? This guy right here, this guy. Yeah.
You know what's funny? This is I'll tell you what, man. I try it's funny, but we you know what? I'm gonna do a teaser, because on next episode, when we talk about Valentine's Day, I'm going to fill you in on all the good stuff and some ideas, but we're not there yet. But I love you, man. Thank you for that, because this has been eye-opening. Man, and Mike Levine busting out those ideas and the thing. Honorary girl. God, this is amazing. I love it. So this week, the question we have for you is, how was your childhood, if you were a girl growing up? Does that impact you as a parent now that you're a parent, especially if you have girls, now your children? What is that like now for you as a parent, having experienced your childhood? Does that impact you in a certain way? Does that raise any concerns about how you're raising your child? Do you think about it? Well, if you'd like to get in touch with us about that topic or more, you can get in touch with us through our voicemail line at 559-537-KIDS. 559-LAY-KIDS. Phone numbers in the show notes. 2, you could email the show at heytheparents@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And 3, you could join us on Instagram at heytheparents. We'll try to keep you up to date with show info, polls, more, and of course, us going through editing and listening to these episodes, making ridiculous AI images to let you know just that we have the moments of the show where we have to just put ourselves, on the spot for ridiculous things that we said or things that came up in the conversation. But we are now here for Time to Unplug. Don't forget, you'll be a better we if you take care of me. Sarah, why don't you start us off?
Oh, gosh. I feel like I just made fun of the whole situation, but all right, friends. If you get yourself a Bissell handheld steamer, you'll be a good wife and you'll take care of your house. No, but seriously, honestly, for those who clean the house, having this little steamer was a lot of fun. There's a lot of dirt and little crevices you don't even know that's hiding. I just felt like, I don't know, after having 2 children via C-section, my back is a little wonky at times. So when I do a lot of cleaning and a lot of repetitive motions in terms of like scrubbing and stuff like that, my back hurts. And you want this little steamer? Made me went faster. It felt cleaner. It was easier. And you know what? I wasn't like laid out on the bed being like, oh my God, let's watch a show. My back hurts and I fall asleep. My back didn't hurt. I was able to stay up past 10 o'clock and I was able to have a little bit more me time. So it's like a roundabout way to the me time stuff. But I think that little Bissell handheld steamer is definitely worth an investment. It's a good time if you like to clean stuff, and it'd save your back from being so achy. So you could do it.
That's pretty cool.
What do you got, Mike?
Well, let me tell you something that is also worth another investment. So I got out of my house. I was walking in my car for work, and all of a sudden my car doesn't start.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no, the cold killed the battery. And then you have to pull up somebody else's car, get jumper cables, and do that whole thing. And you don't need that if you have this a NOCO battery that I found on Amazon. It's like $100, and you can leave it charged. And if your car ever dies, you could just attach this one little battery with it has the 2 cords connected to it, the red and the black. You hook it up to the positive and the negative. You just hit the button, boop, and then your car starts up. It was like amazing.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't need another
it looks
car.
good.
I didn't know this thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was.
It's so small.
This thing's like, it's like the size of like a.
It's like the size
awesome.
of a
Like the size of a
Nintendo
Switch,
Switch.
right? Like
yeah.
yeah.
And it was perfect. It did it quickly. I was able to start my car, get it running, and get to work. So it was actually pretty
So
cool.
it's probably
man.
good to throw one of those in each car, right?
Yeah. It's really, really cool. And it stays like I still have it charged from the first time that I used it, and it's been like weeks, and it's still got it's still got a good amount of charge in it. So
See, and you have more you time because you have
yeah.
less gray hair for being stressed.
exactly.
Well
What
done.
about you, Mike? What do you got going on this week?
So I have okay, so this is kind of random in a little roundabout way, but okay, so in the video game episode, we were talking about the Switch and like that whole thing. Yeah, that's great. That's family. We love family.
Yeah,
Family's nice.
yeah.
But sometimes you have to do things for yourself. So the Steam Deck is something that I got a little while ago, and I think it's becoming a little more popular now. All of these like handheld gaming PCs that basically are like, you know, the Nintendo but different. So I have one. I use it sometimes. And recently, this is like straight up, boom, back to the 80s. They're the Final Fantasy series that were on the original Nintendo. These were like, you know, these were like the golden age of gaming for many people. But the games do not hold up in the same way because there's a lot of like things that have changed in video games where like they become like, you know, more quality of life changes, right?
Right.
So going back playing old Final Fantasy games, there's these random encounters. The leveling is slow. It takes forever. So they released these pixel remasters of the old Final Fantasy games. And what they did was, when they released the console ones, they added things of like, you could boost your experiences, you could boost your gold, you could make it like super duper fast and easy to play. So they didn't do that for the PC ones. Everyone's like, what the heck, man? So last week they announced that they were going to bring all of these quality of life adjustments to the PC. So they these Final Fantasy games that I played when I was like 9 or 10 years old, they have finally made all of these nice changes to the PC. So for all of you Steam Deck owners or whatever, all of you handheld gamer enthusiasts, this is a cool little thing to have. The Steam Deck is awesome to begin with. We'll talk about that more at some point. But
I love
the
the
Final
Steam Deck.
Fantasy series. Yeah. It's sick. It's really cool. And this thing is it's not stopping anytime soon. I think this handheld PC era is like the way the way that things are going now, because I think everyone must have realized Nintendo had something special with this idea that you could be like playing a video game, and then everyone's like, but I want to watch the TV, and like, no problem, pick it up, bring it to the couch, and now everyone's parallel playing together. So it's awesome.
That's great, man.
That's great, man. Hey, thanks, buddy. It's great for you. But yeah, no, I enjoy it. Anyway, I tell you what, this has been a good episode. We got batteries. We got steamy, clean floors. We got no sweating, and we have equality. But on this episode, we talked about what it's like to be raising some girls, growing up as a girl, having sisters, having only brothers, and all of that stuff in between. But I think that it was an eye-opening conversation for the three of us. And for all of you at home, you probably are like shaking your heads at some of us because you're like, man, isn't this obvious? Who knows? Not obvious to me. But we'd like to take a moment to thank our listeners, our supporters for donating to the show. If you want to help support this show so we can keep making episodes like this one, we have a link to donate in the show notes. If you don't have the means to do so, we totally get it. But we would appreciate it if you could tell your friends or family member about our podcast so we can reach out to more parents and maybe even leave us a review on the Apple Podcast or Spotify app. We can't wait to explore this parenting thing with you again next week on Hey the Parents, because hey, it's the three of us and all of you. Don't forget to hug your kids and charge your Chromebooks. That's going to do it for me, for Mike, and for Sarah. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace. Hey the Parents is produced by Mike Levine, Sarah Deservines, and me, Michael Height. I edit and mix our show. Our intro voice recording was done by the one and only Coltrane. If you like our show, we hope you will consider going to our show notes and supporting our podcast. Find us online on Instagram at Hey the Parents, or send us an email at heytheparents@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.